Welcome to Ghana, Akwaba.
Akwaba, thank you very much
Yes.
for having me here. It's a wonderful, wonderful country.
Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations for making it through amongst the top in terms of UN tourism position as Secretary General. We are happy as Ghana because Ghana is one of the tourism destinations in Africa that we pride ourselves in how we want to develop tourism. So
you should be because you're very successful in the last years. You have a very clear strategy aimed at bringing the diaspora from the US and from other places to Ghana. And I think more and more people are knowing Ghana, who was not before very well known. Right. Now they know it. And they come again and again because it is such a beautiful place.
Thank you very much. So before we zoom into a short interview to get to know you, probably you would like to tell us a bit about yourself. I know you've held other ministerial positions before even thinking of going as a UN Tourism Secretary General. So
yes, you're right.
Tell us a bit more about yourself.
I'm an active member of parliament and currently in the Parliament of Greece with the party that governs Greece under the leadership of Kyriakos Mitsotakis, our Prime Minister.
Right.
I was Minister of Tourism in the first government of Kyriakos Mitsotakis during COVID, which was a very, very difficult period, but I managed to bring Greece to deal with COVID in the best possible way. That's why we were awarded the best country in the world dealing with COVID. I was also Deputy Minister of Finance of Greece, reformed the tax laws of Greece to make them more efficient, to be able to cut the tax evasion. Right. And before that, 10 years ago, I was head of the tax administration. So my relationship with the Ministry of Finance of Greece spans 10 years. And finally, I'm now, as you mentioned, a candidate for the position of Secretary General in UN Tourism, an organization that believes that has a lot of potential to partner with Ghana and with the rest of the African countries for the good and the benefit of the people of Ghana.
Wow, that sounds great. Talking about UN Tourism, I think you have been around for some time, so you've seen in and out of the organization. What makes it so important for you to actually look forward to taking the helm of the UN Tourism Organization? What different are you going to bring on board?
Yeah, well, this is an organization that has a very important role to fulfill. It has to bring the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN Charter, and take those goals to translate them into action into the field of tourism to help the tourism community achieve sustainability in all the three dimensions. We always think about the environment, which is an important dimension, but there's also the economic dimension and the social dimension. So all three dimensions have to be there so that tourism can fulfill its role to not degrade the environment, but to help the people get lifted out of poverty and lead sustainable and successful, prosperous lives. Tourism can do that. In my country, it has done it because Greece is one of the powerhouses of global tourism. I'm sure this can happen to other African countries. But currently, UN Tourism has such an important role, as I mentioned, but is not fulfilling that role. I think it's doing much less than what it could do, focusing on marketing and events, but we need to more focus on strategy and transformation of the tourism education system of countries like Ghana, the infrastructure and the investment that needs to happen in the field of tourism to ensure that you have a successful industry.
Great. Talking about some of the vision objectives and what UNWTO or UN Tourism has to do, over the past few years, it looks as if the organization that has so much respect, had so much honor, has lost some credibility. If you look at it carefully for the past few years, to the extent that some countries have even opted out of the organization. What is it that you are going to do to bring that credibility where people or countries are excited about being members of UN tourism?
Yeah, well, we need to embark on a reform journey.
Okay.
That's clear and important. That's why my motto in my statement of intent is reform to transform, unite to grow.
Okay.
Those are the pillars of my program.
Right.
Reformation of the organization is essential to bring transparency, and with transparency comes trust. Trust among the member states, trust between the member states and the bureaucracy of the organization, to ensure that the goals of the organization are aligned with what the member states want to happen. In the past years, we've seen a lot of countries leaving the organization because they do not see value in its actions. I'm here to reverse that. I'm here to focus on KPIs, focus on efficiency, utilize digital tools. I'm a software engineer by training, so I know the value of digital tools, and I know the trends that are shaping our world through the digital changes. So as a result, it's important to ensure that we have an organization able to stand up to the task that we have at hand, and only when we are able to show real value to the member states, only then can we venture out and talk to the members that left and bring them back into the fold.
Sounds great. You've been to quite a number of African countries, about 9
yes.
past few weeks, and that might be tiring. You just came back from Nigeria and other countries. So you've observed the terrain, Africa, and I want to hear from you. What are some of the potential that you see in Africa, and what do you think when you become the Secretary General, what are the things that you can do to actually help Africa really to harness its tourism potential?
Well, I can tell you from the start, I cannot help Africa. Only Africa
Yes.
can help Africa.
Absolutely.
So what I can do is I can be the catalyst to bring people to the table, to start talking, to start cooperating, and my ambition is to bring the ministers on the same table to ensure that we agree on a common set of goals. I've called those goals Mission 100. In 4 years, by 2030, to have 100 billion worth of investment, 100 million tourists, 10 million new jobs, and 1 million upskilling of existing jobs. So we need to do this for Africa, because Africa can do it and Africa needs to do it. Now, how can we do it? What kind of untapped potential can we tap into in order to ensure that we do that? Number one, the young population. We need to reform tourist education to ensure that the young population has the dexterities, the abilities, the vocational characteristics to be able to stand in the international arena. Number two, we need to destroy the barriers that currently exist. Barriers from roaming charges to visa regulations to difficulty in the airports, things that are making traveling more difficult. And mind you, the first goal should not be to bring people from abroad. It should be to bring Africans in Africa. If we cannot convince Africans to travel, the fastest growing middle class in any region of the world, then how can we convince the middle class of other regions to travel? No, Africans can travel for their own benefit, but also for the prosperity of Africa. And if we achieve that, then that means that we're ready to venture out with more connectivity, more marketing activities, more share of voice, to showcase the richness of the environment and of the culture of the African continent. And I'm sure many people like me in this trip that I've come will be smitten by the beauty that we see in front of us, and they will come again and again in Africa and see the Africans for what they are. Beautiful people, people with open arms, people with a natural tendency and a long tradition of hospitality, and they're ready, the people that are ready to receive and ensure that make tourists feel like home and they feel relaxed.
Now you are in Africa, you are in Ghana for a purpose. You need vote from Africa, you need vote from Ghana. What is it that you can tell Africans, you can tell Ghanaians that for this and that reason, vote for me?
Well, the first thing, if I speak to all the Africans, is that I'm the only candidate that has said anything about Africa. I have a very specific plan. I'm specializing it for each country so we can be your partner to work together to bring the know-how, to bring the expertise, to bring the multilateral funding for infrastructure, and to bring the private funding for private projects to ensure that Africa is prosperous. So vote for me if you want to ensure that tourism in Africa develops, and Africa will stop being just a recipient of aid or of charity, but actually will take its own future to its hands, at least in the field of tourism, and through the field of tourism drive the trends that shape this industry. Just to give you an example, who would have thought a few decades ago that Nollywood, the movie industry of Nigeria, will be such a big, powerful force? We can do the same for tourism in Africa. As far as Ghana is concerned, you have a candidate as well. And I think for me, it's clear that we could join forces and make this symbolic move, a small country from Europe and a small country from Africa, to join forces and show to the world that unity is much better than division. The things that unite us are more than the ones that divide us, and we can move forward very quickly and very successfully to change this organization, and we can only do it together. So what I'm saying is that we can all win together and make this win a common cause.
We have infrastructure deficit when it comes to within the tourism sector.
Of course.
How would your leadership help address this challenge in Africa and for that matter Ghana?
Well, this is a very important question and a very important problem that we need to solve. I've seen how organizations like IMF have worked alongside countries, and this is my ambition. This is what we need to be doing. So what we could be doing as UN Tourism is come here, for example in Ghana, and sit down with the ministries and with the president and create a common strategy for the development of tourism in Ghana. Very specific plan for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years sometimes, to ensure that we have a good plan for the development of Ghana. The second step is to agree that this plan will be monitored externally as well from UN Tourism, and as a result to create the trust in the ability of the country to implement this plan. Because nobody can believe that Greece or Ghana or some other country will stick to a plan that spans 5 years when even the elections are 4 years and the governments will change. So by doing this, we provide the credibility. We are the face of the country vis-a-vis Ghana, vis-a-vis the international community. Number two, we go to the multilateral institutions, the development banks, the World Bank, the other institutions that finance infrastructure, but what they want to see is they want to see a coherent plan. We will provide that and we'll say, listen, we need funding for the infrastructure that underpins this specific plan. If we do that, then we can go to the third step, which is to talk to the private sector and say, listen, we have a strategy, it's going to be implemented because we monitor the implementation, we have funding for infrastructure, then we also want your funding to get a concession, to build a hotel, to do something that will help the industry. So this is a 3-step plan that can make UN Tourism a useful partner to the member states, to Ghana in this case, and I think it will make Ghana to put her on a sure path to prosperity and to adequate, sustainable, regenerative touristic development.
You are a finance person. How much revenue can the tourism sector generate for Africa in the years to come?
Well, this is something that the sky's the limit. Africa has the biggest gap between reality and potential. Yeah. I'll reverse this and I'll give you the Greek numbers. Greece has 10 million people. It's a small nation. We received last year 36 million tourists. 3.6 times the people that live in Greece have come as tourists. So this is the potential that some country can achieve. Think of Ghana, the number of people and what you could receive. We have a GDP of 240 billion. about 22 to 23 billion was our revenue. So that's 10% of GDP come from tourists. If we count the indirect people working for the hotel, not a carpenter, another person that works for the hotel or a restaurant or whatever, then this number is about 22 to 25% of GDP. So a country that is rich in an environment can achieve this kind of ability. So 25% of GDP, perhaps it's on the high end because Greece is very successful. Let's say 15% of GDP on average across Africa, it could be the potential that tourism can realize.
I wanted to know, what is Greece doing so special that is attracting more tourists into the country?
Well, first of all, we're blessed with a fantastic environment. We have the beaches, we have the islands, we have a good weather, people want to come. So that's something that some people have, some people don't have. I'm sure Ghana, with these long beaches and stuff, can also tap into this beauty. The second thing, of course, that you have to do is you have to ensure that you protect the environment. Cleanliness, those kind of things, ensuring that you don't destroy the trees and the environment, and there is a balance between development and the environment has to be there. Finally, we need to focus on infrastructure. There's a lot of things. You have to have connectivity, you have to have accessibility. So we need to work together with the airlines. We can help with that because I worked very diligently with the airlines during COVID, and I managed to increase the connections to Greece from the US, for example, 3 times. We had 9 flights per day from 2020 onwards. So those are the things that can also bring the tourists. And of course, the final thing that is required is good education. If you want to serve the tourists, you need to speak languages, you need to have, this nice ways and speak in a friendly way, those kind of things, but also to know exactly what is needed. But in general, be in a good mood and try to be friendly with people, because people get memories. That's what they seek memories. So if we work on those areas one by one and increase the standards on each of those areas, then the number of tourists increases initially slowly, but then suddenly it can take off, like in Greece.
Mr. Minister, before we go, look into the camera and tell us 3 things that you will do for the world when you become UN Tourism Secretary General next year?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is that my ambition is to make this organization transparent in order to create trust among the member states. I want to have trust with the Ghanaians, with the Nigerians, with the South Africans, with the Italians, with the French, with the Japanese, with the Jamaicans, and so forth. The second thing is we need to unite. We can only be strong together if we are together. Strength comes in numbers, and in this case, in a very difficult world where actually cooperation seems like a commodity which is rare, we need to back this strength and work together and collaborate. And finally, we need to focus on growth. We need to provide growth, because that's the only way that we can provide prosperity for our citizens, prosperity for our people that are thirsty for this prosperity. They have many things to give, and of course, if we are able to give them ways to express their abilities through tourism, we can also compensate them so that they have a meaningful life ahead of them.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.